Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Spitball Sports Show. I'm Jacob, and joining me, as always, is Brian. Today, we'll give our thoughts on Week 6 of the NFL and talk about some games that really caught our attention and surprised us. I'll get into my Giants report, what's going on with my team. Brian will discuss his Philadelphia Eagles, hashtag HurtsBadman. And as always, we'll give our predictions for the upcoming Thursday night football game. With that said, Brian, how are you doing, and what did you think of Week 6 of the NFL?
Thank you for the lovely introduction, Jacob. I am doing fantastic. A lot better than my Eagles did this week. Unfortunately, we did suffer a loss to the Jets, but we'll unpack that a little bit later on. Kind of saw it coming, honestly. I know I went with Eagles -7, but that's just something I had to do. But yeah, it was definitely tough. A lot of interesting games this week, a lot to unpack. Let's get started.
Let's do it. So, what's the first game that we want to go over? There was a couple of big ones that happened. Obviously, we talked about the Thursday night football game already. The next one, going on the list here, that I wanted to touch on was the Panthers versus Dolphins. So, Dolphins offense, of course, putting up huge numbers. They're on track to be a historic offense this season. Panthers, though, they're getting a little bit of traction. They're 0-6 right now. The only team that has yet to have a win, but putting up some points on the board. They ended up being 14-0 at one point in the game before the Dolphins offense took over with Tua, Tyreek Hill, and their other powerhouse players.
Dude, at first when I saw that they're 14-0, I was like, "Oh my god, we have another upset." I
thought it was going to be.
This is not what I thought it was going to be.
Right? Looks like the Dolphins might have been mortal there for a minute, but
yeah,
they tightened it up real quick.
Yeah, no, they definitely. I mean, Raheem Mostert have on my fantasy 115 yards, 2 touchdowns, absolute killer. Even Tyreek still 163 yards. Like, this guy's a monster. He hasn't stopped off on the offense side. He's full gas right now. That he can easily break 2,000 receiving yards this season. Easy.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a possibility. It'd be easy for him at this point, and it sucks. I'm going up against him in fantasy this week, so a little bit scared.
It's always scary going up against him or like a Christian McCaffrey on fantasy because they're players that can drop 20, 30 points easily. So you need all of your players to absolutely perform. But we'll see how this week goes for them. It's going to be a tough matchup with the Eagles.
It's going to be a good game. It's one of the games I'm looking forward to the most. We'll talk about it more on Saturday as far as our kind of thoughts about that matchup. But like I said, that's kind of one of the games, if not the game, I'm looking forward to the most for this week. What other games from Week 6 did you want to touch on?
Yeah, so I mean, the team we've been talking about for quite a while now, brand new Lions, destroyed the Buccaneers 20-6. An absolute show for the Lions. Absolutely dominated on both ends as well, not just offensively but defensively. And it looked like it was gonna be a close game, or on paper, it might look like it was gonna be a close game. Baker Mayfield, turning the Buccaneers around, but the Lions did what they have done every game and just absolutely dominated.
Yeah, they are a force this season for sure. I'm on the hype train. I've been on the hype train since the preseason. I see the Lions as one of the top teams in the NFC, in the NFL, really. Playoffs for sure. How far they're going to get, with the way that they're playing, it might go pretty deep this season.
Right. I mean, Jared Goff has been playing absolutely amazing. He went 354 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's the key part right there. 0 interceptions. Yes. He's been able to protect the ball. I know that was a key factor to him be traded originally when he was on the Rams. So, he didn't play smart with the ball. Yes, he was getting his touchdowns, but he had made a lot of mistakes, and he's showing that he's a brand new quarterback. I mean, Amon-Ra, his top receiver, 124 yards, 1 touchdown. It's hard to stop a team like that when they're absolutely firing on all cylinders.
Definitely. The mistakes is the biggest thing. Like a perfect football team is a team that doesn't make mistakes. A defense, they'll outperform the offense they're going against. They won't allow any points. On offense, that's perfect. They'll score a touchdown with every drive. So
Yeah.
it's the teams that play perfect that make it the furthest. The Lions, I mean, they don't have like the most stacked roster, but
No.
man, they play hard and they limit those mistakes.
And it all comes down to coaching at the end. Dan Campbell's done a really great job to turn them around, and it's a great environment to be in. I'm sure it's a fun locker room. It sounds like it's a fun locker room. I don't know if you caught that victory speech at the end where he's like, "That's 5, man. That's 5." Takes out a $5 bill. He's just trying to pump his guys up. It was really cool to see, and you can see all the guys in the locker room just they're all supporting him. It's just a great locker room environment to be in right now.
I bet, and that momentum
Mhm.
and the happiness they have in the locker room is going to propel them to even more wins.
Yeah.
It's the locker rooms that these guys are feeling kind of defeated. Those are the ones that are in trouble.
Hmm. Like your
If you're all
Giants.
done talking about the Lions, yeah, well, we'll talk about the Giants in a bit. I wanted to talk about another team that's having some issues right now,
Who's that?
being the Bears.
Oof.
Now, you and I had both picked, I believe, the Bears to come up
Mhm.
victorious versus the Vikings, especially with the Vikings missing Justin Jefferson,
Yeah.
uh, Justin Fields, kind of showing that he may have some talent left that we may have thought was gone last season. Unfortunately, I didn't watch the game myself, but unfortunately, it looks like Justin Fields got injured. I'm not sure if he's
Yeah.
going to play next week, but that definitely contributed to the Bears underperforming. They ended up losing to the Vikings 13
Mhm.
to 19. Vikings led by Kirk Cousins. He didn't throw as many passing yards as he normally does, which I think you and I talked
Yeah.
about. Without Justin Jefferson, he was going to underperform a little bit.
Mhm.
181 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Still accurate, 21 of 31.
Mhm.
Um, Hawkinson being his number one performer, stepping up for Justin Jefferson's absence.
Yeah.
Um, so what do you think of the Bears right now? They're kind of in a dire situation, 1-5, getting to that point in the season of no return if they can't turn it around right now. What are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I just don't think they can at this point. They've lost a lot of games. There's been some close games where they looked like they might have been able to pull it off, but just they can't get anything consistent. Like you said, Justin Fields got injured early in the game. I don't know how long he's gonna be out, if he is gonna be out. I'm not sure who their backup quarterback is, but just offensively, they can't get anything going. Defensively as well, they haven't been able to stop really anyone. Every game that they're in, for the most part, is a high-scoring game. Even against the Broncos, they allow a lot of touchdowns to a pretty bad Broncos offense. So I don't think they can turn it around. I'm not sure how tough their season is for the remainder, but I mean they're in the division with the Lions and the Packers. Obviously, the Packers are going through their own growing pains right now as well, but they seem a little bit more talented as opposed to the Bears. So personally, I don't think they can, but I mean I could be wrong.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, any given Sunday, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the Bears don't have the hardest schedule. They play actually some pretty poor opponents.
Mhm.
The toughest that they're going to have is the Lions that they have to play twice
Right.
later this year. They have to play the Chargers as well, the Vikings again. But other than that, I mean, you look at Packers, Cardinals, Falcons, um, Panthers, Saints, Raiders. Like these are all teams that are kind of at the lower end of the teams this season.
Mhm.
Teams that if the Bears are performing well, they could potentially beat. But
Yeah.
I'd say looking at it, they have one of the easier schedules. Are they able to execute on it? Probably not, especially without Justin Fields.
Yeah.
As much flack as he takes, he is a great player. I don't know if their backup can even compare to Justin Fields' abilities. Oh, I think they're in for a rough one here, man.
Yeah, he definitely does have a lot of abilities, a lot of like great things about him. There's that question mark about whether he can stay in the pocket and look at plays. There's been plenty of reviews that people have seen there where there's players that are wide open and he's just not throwing to them. So maybe that processing is a little bit low, but
That's
I
funny. I
mean,
was I was just talking to somebody about that same thing today. I was
mhm,
talking to a Bears fan, and we were talking about how Justin Fields will sit in the pocket and he'll have players wide open in front of
yeah,
him in his field of vision. He can't see it. I don't know if that's due to the pressure, him taking a lot of hits, but he has players wide open, holds onto the ball too long, and he's been taking some hits, man. He's been taking some hits, especially as a mobile quarterback where he's going to be getting tackled. That can definitely shorten a career.
Yeah, these mobile quarterbacks, they definitely have to figure out how to get that ball out. I mean, you look at RG3 and the injuries, unfortunately, that he suffered.
Right.
Pretty much as soon as the mobility went away, he wasn't the same player. You look at someone like Michael Vick, who was an amazing mobile quarterback, and he was able to get the ball out. That guy could sling it. He slinged it for the Falcons. He was an absolute killer with the Eagles as well. Just I love watching his highlights just because he's like one of the best like left-handed throwers. Like he can just throw the deep ball. Get a little off topic here, but yeah, they need to figure out that he needs to get a quick release. He needs to be able to process that a lot faster. I mean, hopefully they can get things turned around. Again, it's another great organization. There's some things, moving back and forth. Obviously, they got DJ Moore this offseason, trying to give Fields a little bit more offensive weapons, but they've lost a lot, man. They lost Khalil Mack for no reason. After I think they got him from the Raiders. They've lost a lot on the defensive side as well. So it's an organization that they're looking like there might be a lottery draft pick again, but who knows?
There's a chance. There's a very big chance. I think they have 2 of the top draft picks right now, as of right now.
Okay.
So we'll see, man. This season keeps trending this way. It's likelihood they'll have another quarterback. On the other side of the ball, Kirk Cousins with the Vikings. He is their bright spot of the team, in my opinion. The defense is not good. A couple of his receivers are great players, but Kirk Cousins, like he's in 2-4 Vikings. He's easily top 5 QB, like we've discussed. At least in my opinion, he's top 5. Does he belong in another team right now? I think is the question going around.
I would say so. I mean, I feel like the Vikings haven't been able to get anything going on. I mean, he's had 2-star wide receivers. He's had Stephon Diggs and had a great career with him, and then now with Justin Jefferson. I mean, he's been really lucky to have those great wide receivers, but the Vikings just seem like they can't get anything going. We talked about this before. He is a free agent after this year, so maybe they might shop him around. He might think about wanting to leave. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would just want to up and go. He might, I mean, I could see him definitely staying, but if there's another organization out there that tempts him, or maybe even if the Vikings just say, hey, we need to part ways, this isn't working out, I could definitely see him being a star at the Falcons. That might be a good spot for him.
That's the team I was thinking of as well for him. They're building something special over there, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, star running back with Bijan Robinson, and Drake London has been a little bit of disappointment, but I mean, then again, he's got Desmond Ridder throwing to him, so maybe
that's the biggest problem of this offense. It could be a powerhouse right now, but I mean, you can't throw 3 interceptions in a football game. Like that's just giving the opportunities to the other team. Obviously, kind of leading into the Commanders and Falcons. Like Desmond Ridder threw 3 interceptions. He did throw 2 touchdowns. He threw 307 yards, but giving the ball away 3 times, allowing the other team to score on that. It's the reason they lost 24-16.
Yeah.
So Kirk Cousins could definitely find a home there if him and the Vikings, like you said, were looking to part ways.
Yeah. It doesn't seem likely, but then again, stranger things have happened.
Oh yeah.
Stranger things have happened.
We know that for sure. What other games did you want to talk about here? I know Seahawks and Bengals was one that I believe both of us were mostly on point for all of our picks. Me and you were on the same page going into all of them, aside from that Monday night game. Bengals, Bengals and Seahawks. Now Joe Burrow, like we predicted, carried some momentum with him going into the Seahawks game from that Cardinals victory.
Much needed.
Much needed. Yeah, 17-13. They picked off the Seahawks. Not very high scoring for a excellent QB that Joe Burrow is. He threw only 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jamar Chase, he also carried over a lot of the momentum they had from the previous game. 6 receptions for 80 yards. Great game from him.
Yeah.
It really looks like they barely squeaked out a win here. The running game didn't have much going on. I think they had barely over 40 yards rushing total. The Seahawks, goodness gracious. You look at Geno Smith, he threw 326 yards.
Killed it.
Problem is he also threw 2 picks and 0 touchdowns.
Right.
Yeah, those that. Oh, go ahead.
No, like you're saying, those interceptions, man, that's just something that just kills you. You just can't have that in a game. It just throws away your opportunities. You think about how close the score was, 13-17. Minus, if you take away those interceptions, that's easily 2 field goals if you're not able to take it down to the red zone. So it's just mistakes that can be made.
Exactly. And, Geno Smith, he took over the reins after Russell Wilson departed. He was one of those QBs where, he's a backup QB, a good backup QB. He's taken up the reins, and he's having a fine season for himself, as he did last year. But yeah, man, that's the ways to lose games is too many mistakes. That's a killer. So,
yeah, that's another team that's pretty talented. I mean, Kenneth Walker, 62 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett, 94 yards. I mean, even with DK Metcalf, he's got talent around him. So they're definitely got the right pieces. But that's just another team that can they win it all with Geno Smith? Who knows? But then at the same time, who's available? So Geno Smith, is that a quarterback you can win with? Who knows? But I mean, at the same time, there's not very many good quarterbacks that are available at this point. So a lot of them seem to be taken up.
Exactly. What's available out there? Not much, man.
No. Carson
Wentz?
Not
a lot of options. Sure. RG3. He's voiced, some opinions. He's like, hey, so there's some of these QBs that might be ready to come back.
Cam Newton.
He's a wild guy right there. What was the other one? Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah. Man, he's blacklisted for sure. He's not coming back.
Let's just see Brady come back.
Oh, dude, he was around. I don't know if you saw, but he was chilling on his, I think it's like a 20 million yacht just down the coast. He was just sitting in the back, just shirtless, just chilling, man. I was like, dude, that guy is just living life right now. And he has that broadcast job that's lined up after I think it was like 10 years, 320 million or something crazy. Yeah, dude.
It sucks. I was just watching a video highlight from last season when they were playing the Saints. And it was a game that kind of, if one of them lost, they'd be out of playoff contention. And he pulled off another 4th quarter comeback, and it was just crazy seeing him play. It's like, I don't know, man. He could definitely still throw the ball if he wanted to.
He's definitely better than half of these quarterbacks out here, if not more. I mean, I would still think he's a top 10, but
yeah, last season he was still top 10, maybe even top 5 of the passing yards of the QBs at the time. Yeah, I don't know what he ended with, but he was staying in the race for the most part.
Yeah, he's definitely a quarterback that can, if he wanted to come back, he could come back. I mean, he's Tom Brady. Anyone would take Tom Brady for the most part, but he's given a lot to the game, man. He's been over 20 years. He's over 40 years old. Definitely, he's up there. So who knows, man? I hope he stays retired, just because at what point does it become like a determinant or a stain on his prestigious record of being the GOAT. So if he has another bad season,
unless he comes back and wins another ring,
dude, that'd be insane. I mean, he potentially could, right? But that'd be. But who did he come back for? Patriots. They're kind of in a shambles right now, but I don't know. I don't know if he would come back. I think I would love to see him in the broadcast. Point, kind of like Tony Romo, who's been great, as So it's interesting to see what's going to happen for him in his future. Definitely excited.
Me too. Very excited, especially for that broadcasting stuff.
Yeah.
Excited to hear his take. His beautiful, beautiful voice.
Dude, his beautiful face. My man's handsome as heck.
Amazing Brady. So the other another game that we were surprised about here, 49ers versus Browns. You and I both picked the 49ers. I think you took the 49ers spread. Is that
everyone
right?
Everyone picked the 49ers. Everyone
How could you
picked
not?
The 49ers, dude.
How could you not pick the 49ers? Obviously, huge upset. Browns
Oh
pull it
man,
off 19-17. Watching the game, watching the highlights, man, those missed field goals, how
dude,
frustrating, man. That
that's
that
just
definitely
terrible.
cost them the game.
Yeah, and even Brock Purdy though he had an off game. I mean, 125 yards, 12 for 27. That's just kind of unheard of for him at
Yeah,
this point.
but
One interception.
like we talk about, he's a plug and play in this offense. They could put any, in my opinion, they could put any real average quarterback, maybe slightly above average quarterback, plug him into this system. As long as that quarterback doesn't make mistakes, they have the run game to lean on to, which is the reason they lost this game. Christian McCaffrey got injured
Yeah,
in the game. He ended up with 11 carries, 43 yards, still got that touchdown, kept that
yeah,
streak up.
yeah.
But that run game suffered dramatically. The Browns were able to stuff McCaffrey, were able to injure him. Deebo Samuel also injured. He had 0 yards receiving.
Even Kittle.
And
Kittle only had one reception, 1 yard.
yeah. So the Browns defense, props to them. They're
Yeah,
good defense.
yeah.
They stuffed the Niners very well. I mean, both sides had missed field goals. The 49ers just more critical spots, and they couldn't get it rolling
Yeah, the weather
in the
definitely
ground or
wasn't
air.
favorable. It wasn't favorable coming in. I mean, you could see everyone. We're living in Arizona. We're still in t-shirts and flip flops and sandals and shorts and stuff. And over there in Cleveland, I mean, they were like bunched up. It definitely looked like it was still cold, probably a little windy.
Yeah, chilly.
Yeah, it wasn't favorable conditions, but I mean, at the end of the day, they had the field goals have to be made. They had plenty of opportunities, and I think it was only like a 20-30 yard field goal for the 49ers to potentially win it, right? It was pretty close.
It looked like it was close.
Yeah.
And I mean, the other side of it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Browns had a missed field goal, at least a missed field goal that I remember.
Yeah.
And then PJ Walker, love the guy, XFL, unofficial MVP of the 2020 season before it was cut short. I love XFL stuff. I really like PJ Walker, but it just shows the talent disparity between the top of the XFL compared to the NFL. PJ Walker, 192 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. He played adequate. He may have done a little more harm than good during that game, but defense held them. They held the 49ers, and the run game for the Browns was able to execute and make some points happen. I think Kareem Hunt scored their touchdown. And did the defense have a touchdown, or did the other points just come from field goals?
I think it might have been field goals. Yeah.
All the other points came from field goals. 13 points by their kicker. He went 4 of 5. His long was 50. And then, the only other score was that rushing touchdown. So the Browns, the offense, they weren't playing fantastic either.
Yeah. I remember texting you a couple times during the game. I'm like, dude, this guy's with PJ. He's just missing some throws. Like the wide open wide receivers. Mari Cooper made a great run. He's got distance from his cornerback, whoever's on him, and he was just underthrowing. He was just missing him by a mile, man. It was just like you said, the difference between quality of an XFL quarterback and an NFL quarterback is just it's crazy. Like
it is crazy. Even if you compare current NFL backup quarterbacks, they would mop the floor with any of the starters from the USFL or the XFL.
Yeah.
The quarterback position is one of them that you can't really hide behind for the most part. If you got it, you got it. You'll probably end up on an NFL squad. But I mean, the quarterback is the star of the show. So I mean, there's going to be enough tape out there of you from college playing or practice in the NFL for teams to decide if they want you or not. And for the most part, I think they make the right choice. All these players that are in the XFL or the USFL, most of these quarterbacks, you can see that they're not going to be able to compete in the NFL position. There's a couple of rare breeds, guys that are backup quarterbacks like AJ McCarron for the St. Louis Battlehawks on the XFL, career backup quarterback. He makes the right decisions. He plays well. He's great to watch. You can see the clear disparity between NFL caliber guys and XFL quality guys. But enough about my spring league teams. We'll get into that after the NFL season. We'll get into more of that.
Yeah, definitely something to talk to. But one game I want to talk about is the Cardinals versus Rams. I kind of touched up on it a little bit with when they played the Eagles last week. So Cardinals obviously lost to the Rams 9-26. Cooper Rush, man, this guy had a hell of a game. 148 yards, 1 touchdown. Even Kyrie Williams, he was just they had the run game going, man. 158 yards, 1 touchdown as well. Like the Rams were looking great. Again, they are playing the Cardinals, so you have to take everything with a grain of salt. When teams should beat them, besides the Cowboys, they should beat them, but they just played great. And Cooper's been able to get open. It's amazing seeing him come back from his injury. He looks like he hasn't missed a step. He's just slicing the defenses down the middle. He's getting so many yards after the catch as well. That's the impressive part.
Yeah, it was crazy watching Cooper Kupp playing. Definitely hogging the ball. He got almost all the touches for that team. Tuda Atwell, he got a couple. He got 1 reception for 30 yards. Puka Nacua, he got 4 for 26. Passing attack did just enough. Stafford with 226 yards and a touchdown. Other than that, man, they rushed that ball down the Cardinals' throat.
Dude, it seemed like every time Williams was getting the ball, he was just breaking defenders left and right. He was just breaking tackles. He almost looked like Marshawn-esque at some points. Like, it was crazy.
He averaged 7.9 yards per carry.
Dude,
he was blowing it. He was almost getting a first down every carry then by those stats.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, granted, the Cardinals are missing Budda Baker. It's definitely a key part of their defense. It looks like he might be coming back after this week, potentially, along with their quarterback, Murray.
Yep. Kyler
Murray. Yeah, along with the quarterback potentially coming back. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to love having Budda Baker back. He's great on offense. So
right. I agree. Joshua Dobbs for the Cardinals, he stepped up. He's played well. I think he's played better than people have expected him to.
Yeah.
He does make good decisions for the most part. He's quick, but he's not up to the talent level of Kyler Murray. Kyler's just, he's there's a reason they drafted him, so high. Right? Yeah. There's a reason they paid him all that money because he has a lot of talent. So they'll be definitely better off with Kyler Murray leading the offense. Could they have won that game with Kyler Murray? Maybe. Joshua Dobbs threw for 235, 1 interception, 0 touchdowns. And I mean, going back to 2 weeks ago, watching him play versus the Bengals, decision-making, that wasn't great during that game. He threw a lot of really bad passes, really bad interceptions, just giving the defense points. Kyler Murray, I think, is going to be welcomed with open arms,
or absolutely booed if he plays horrible. Like he's definitely one of those. Hopefully he doesn't, but I mean, he's one of those quarterbacks where there's a lot of drama surrounding him, a lot of like he's playing Call of Duty, he's not watching tape, and then the whole thing in the contract where he has to watch tape, and then they removed it back. It's just a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of drama surrounding him, so he's definitely one that has to play well, or else they're just gonna boo him to hell and just want him out.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a possibility. I hope it doesn't happen. You can see the talent. You can just watch highlights. He's so fast. He makes reads. He's accurate. He's a good quarterback. So we'll see, man. We'll see how the season comes. I don't know if him and Buddha are going to be ready for Sunday. I would assume not.
Yeah,
they got to practice first.
Yeah, definitely not Kyler. I think they're my designated to come back, but I probably feel like Buddha might come back this Sunday. But
he's an animal.
I mean, the thing we were talking about with Kyler and his talent level. I think 2-3 years ago, the Cardinals started off at like 7-0. Like they had a fantastic record. Yeah. So with him, so they definitely have the talent level. They have some key players. Fire in your gut. They have a great Gannon, who's coach. He questionable calls on the Super Bowl. That's neither here nor there.
Well,
But they have a lot going for them. You know, we'll see.
yeah, and he said that he has the right guys in the locker room, which, you know, of course any coach is going to say, but
Right.
I mean, he does. Like, these guys they play hard every game that they play, every single game. Yeah, they're 1-5, but they didn't just give those 5 losses away. Like, they worked against those teams.
Yeah,
So,
they definitely looked impressive, but well, I mean, they are the Cardinals.
they are the Cardinals. They are the Cardinals, at least for this season. If they're another 1-5 team like the Bears, where probably too far gone to this season for them to turn it around, you know, especially with what they have left.
Yeah.
They have to play your Eagles, right? And the Niners again.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like your dog likes the Cardinals either.
No. Big time 49ers fan.
All right. Well, I think we're at that segment where we talk about, you know, our teams and unfortunate mishaps. Eagles did suffer that loss, 14-20. It was looking great for us at the beginning, but Jalen Hurts, man, 3 interceptions, three very costly interceptions. I have to give props to the Jets defense. They played absolutely amazing. I mean, Lane Johnson did suffer an injury. So we had that right side completely open. We had 2 rookies starting on that right side. So, I mean, the Jets did fantastic at exploiting that. They were definitely pressuring Jalen, caused him to make some bad decisions.
Right.
We talked about it before as well, where there were some injuries with Darius Slay, the cornerback, being injured, some injuries on the Eagles secondary. So Wilson was potentially going to be exploiting that. It wasn't too bad. I think Garrett Wilson was held to 90 yards, 0 touchdowns. There was that. Eagles defense, man, at least the defensive line, they did everything they could. That's the frustrating part. They did everything they could to keep the game close. They sacked Wilson 5 times. They had their pressures, they played absolutely great. And they were getting stops when they were needed, but the offense just could not get anything going, man. They were going 3 and out, 4 and out so many times. It was just painful to watch. Definitely a must lose. Like, I felt like this was a necessary loss. Brian Johnson, our offensive coordinator, has made some questionable calls. Even the last play where they were 3-9, and they had like a minute left. The only freaking player that went down straight down the middle was Devonta Smith. Every other player had a quick short route. You have to make up 9 yards. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking. It seemed like they were trying to go with just have him shoot down the middle, and then just maybe the other receivers be kind of a distraction. But even if they block Devonta, because they had to go with a deep ball. So even if they block Devonta and they throw 3-4 yards to AJ Brown or anyone, that's 9 yards you have to make up. So it's just terrible play calling. We did not run the ball very much at all. I mean, I don't know if that was just the play calling or the Jets defense. Jalen Hurts had 47 yards rushing. He was the leader in rushing. That you can't have that. I mean, we have very talented running backs. Swift, he only had 18 yards. Gainwell only had 13 yards. So they could not get anything going. It was a difficult game. Definitely needed to get the run game a lot more involved. We have a very talented offensive line, even despite the injuries, led by Jason Kelsey. It was a tough to watch game. I love that the players were taking accountability, saying that they got to do better, got to play better. Devonta Smith was saying that. It was a good game to watch. It's good for the Eagles to lose. It was a necessary loss. It's the first time the Jets beat the Eagles in quite a while. I think it's the first time they beat them ever. So I mean, they're over here playing they're over here like celebrating like it's like their Super Bowl, bro. I'm like, all right, man, calm down. Like,
yeah, sure.
Like they're 5-1. Eagles are 5-1, so still on top, one of the best records. I mean, luckily they weren't the only ones to lose. 49ers also lost, so it was a little difficult. I was hoping the Cowboys would lose as well. That way, it wouldn't be like a huge disparity in the NFC. But it's still, I mean, it was tough to watch. It was a necessary loss. We will learn from this, hopefully, and move on. Hopefully, Brian Johnson. I don't know, man. I don't know. He's got to go. And Sirianni, I have faith in Sirianni. He was a great coach. He led the team last year to the Super Bowl, and
Yep.
an amazing record. I mean, we still have an amazing record, so
Yeah.
it's hard to complain. It's hard to complain when you're losing, but just some of these calls, man, I don't know. Something's got to change.
Yeah, definitely. That is a tough loss. But like you and I have talked about, all of the Eagles game up to this point have been close. They've all been one score games.
Yeah,
They cut it too close this time. And I figured it would happen. I think you did too, that they keep cutting all these games close. One of them's gonna slip. This
yeah,
was the one. Jets have been touting their defense as one of the best even since last season. So their defense definitely no joke. As far as Jalen Hurts, yeah, he threw for a ton of yards. I didn't see all the interceptions. Were all three of those interceptions on him, or were any of them like pop ups or misreads by the receiver?
I think one of them was a pop up. I'm not 100% sure, but the other two for sure were on him. Like he was just
Yeah,
throwing into the last one. I mean, he threw into double. I mean, that was a Hail Mary play through to Devontae. Like it was into double coverage, but the Jets defense were doing great job pressuring him. So was he kind of throwing off balance, and so he was definitely on the move a lot. He had to scramble a lot, which is why he probably got freaking 47 yards rushing
yeah,
as opposed to damn running backs. But
they have
yeah,
their number, man.
I mean, he threw for 280 yards. He didn't play completely horrible, but I mean, those 3 interceptions are definitely costly.
You can't, like we talked about already today, interceptions, mistakes. That's what loses games. You can't
Yeah,
give away 3 picks in a
yeah,
game. Who
yeah.
are we just talking about that did the same thing? Give away 3 picks in the same game. Uh,
Uh,
God, who were we just talking about? Oh, Desmond Ritter, right?
Ritter, yeah.
Yep, 3 picks in a game, and obviously they lost too. Like inexcusable.
Hmm.
Can't happen. They'll come back. They'll rally. I'm
Yeah,
sure. They have a couple of harder games this season coming up, but
dude.
they also have some teams that they should smoke, like my Giants, which unfortunately, I guess I have to get into if that's all that you have for on the state of your Eagles.
Some key injuries. So Blankenship,
Yeah,
Lane Johnson, unfortunately, he's injured as well. He's a key piece to that offensive line. Devonta Smith is questionable. So a couple injuries. Blankenship is probably going to be one of the hardest. Blankenship and Lane Johnson are going to be one of the hardest just because Blankenship is an amazing safety. He's done a great job. He's got a couple interceptions here there. Luckily, we're getting Darius Slay back. So great
there you go.
cornerback. He's going to
Yep.
be back. And then another one I'm excited for is Jalen Carter. He is an absolute game wrecker. He's looking like he's going to be back, which is going to be very, very needed when you're going up against the Miami Dolphins. He's an absolute game wrecker. He gets pressures, he gets sacks. I'd love to see him get more game time. So, yeah, that's all I have for the Eagles. Now let's go for your.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
Oh,
whoa, whoa, whoa! Aren't you missing the biggest piece of news that you guys have had this year?
oh my God, dude. Yeah, man,
Julio
that would have
Jones.
Julio Jones, dude. Yeah, that would have been great like 8 years ago, 5 years, 6 years ago. I mean, I was like, I when I saw that, I was like, man, I hope he can play cornerback or
Bro, I was like,
safety.
is he still playing?
Dude, he's got the fire. They were interviewing him and he's just talking about how, hey, I'm not done. Like I'm done. What are you talking about? He's got the fire. He Unfortunately he's got a lot of injuries. He's been out a lot. Even when he was playing with the Buccaneers, he was out. He got a lot of foot related problems back with the Titans as well. So he could potentially be a good red zone player because we've kind of suffered. So even having AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and Julio, just throw three of them straight down, and even Dallas Goddard down
He's
the middle to
stacked.
cut. It'd be stacked, man. It's gonna. I want to say I'm excited for it. I mean, obviously, I want the Eagles to succeed. I trust in Howie. They probably got him for veteran minimum, so we're not hurting. He is a good veteran player as well, so he might just be a difference maker. He obviously has history with AJ Brown, so they were teammates. I think on the Titans. So hopefully he's a good piece. I'm hoping he's a good piece. He probably will be a good piece. In addition, I completely forgot about that. So good thing you brought that up. But
How could you
yeah, man,
forget?
how could I forget? He's again. Hopefully he can play cornerback. That'd have been great 6 years ago.
Yeah, I guess we'll see, man. Time will tell. We'll see. He
Time will
probably needs
tell.
to get a couple practices in before he can start.
Yeah.
Maybe in a couple of weeks he'll be good to go.
I mean, I'm rooting for him. Hopefully he can get, and hey, man, Eagles Nation's going to welcome. If he plays great, oh, dude, everyone's going to love him. If he plays awful, he's going to hear it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like Chase Claypool going to the Dolphins. Like,
Yeah.
we looked at it as like very unnecessary move. Why do they need him? They got plenty of speedsters and power right now in that offense.
Well, it's a big body. They're big bodies. I mean, both of them, you bring up Claypool, him and Julio Jones, they're like 6'4", 230, 240. They're big body wide receivers. So I know with the Dolphins, a lot of their receivers, like Tyreek Hill, I think he's about 5'9", 5'10". Yeah, so he's fast, but I mean, it gives him height. It gives him height, so it gives him a big body. Even if they could just use him for blocking or distraction, that's going to be great addition.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, is that all you had in your Eagles?
Yes, unless you want to surprise me with anything else or remind me anything.
No, I'm just bummed out that our picks for the Eagles and the Niners was wrong. So for that reason alone, I'm upset that the Eagles lost.
I mean, they looked like the favorites. Everyone. I'm sure the majority of the money was on it, but we still got the mother freaking Phillies killing it.
Yes, yeah, good for your Phillies. At least a Philly team is having some victories. But
right, what you got for me, bud?
Moving into the Giants. So weird week. I love the Giants. Always love the Giants. Going into this game against the Bills, I figured we were going to get absolutely killed and destroyed. I almost didn't watch the game, but
I was texting you.
To turn it on.
I was texting you. I was like, bro, they're actually winning. Like,
I convinced myself to turn on and watch. Morbid curiosity, call it. I really just wanted to see what Tyrod Taylor could do. I like Daniel Jones, but I want to see some fresh perspective and see if it really is Daniel Jones' fault that our offense is terrible. They kept it close, 14-9. They lost against the Bills. A lot of questionable things happened. Like I said, a weirdest game of the week to me. They ended the first half at the goal line. Tyrod Taylor audibled it to a run play. Saquon Barkley got stuffed at the line. They had no timeouts left points on the board. Could have been 7 or 3. They just left sitting there. And then at the end of the game, they were able to work it down. It was 4th down, turnover on downs. Bills got it. They need to kill some clock. The Giants defense holds. So Bills try for a field goal, miss it. Giants get the ball back. It was like a miracle happening, in front of our eyes. We couldn't believe it. They got the ball back. They pounded downfield, pass interference call. They're at the goal line, and a no call hold / pass interference against Darren Waller to end the game.
That was pretty bad.
Heartbreaking loss. Yeah, I mean, if you need to ask if something's pass interference, it's pass interference. Like, clear as day.
That one was pretty blatant.
That was a bad one. People are comparing it to the one that the Giants had last season against the Washington Commanders to end it. Which, yeah, I mean, at the time I called that pass interference too. Like, I'm not biased just because it's the Giants. I called that pass interference against the Commanders. Commanders should have had another shot at the end zone too. But that was pretty disgusting. No call. And people were saying Saquon Barkley should have ran it in the end. I disagree. He got stuffed in the first half, like I mentioned. He got stuffed at the goal line. People are like, he's Saquon. He would have made it in. I don't think so. The Bills defense was doing a really good job with the run game.
Yeah.
Saquon, he opened it up in the second half a little bit, started pounding it down the field. But at least you have options if you pass it. You have time. I thought it was the right call. It just didn't happen.
It wasn't like the Seahawks Super Bowl where like, oh, we got to give it to Marshawn. We got to run it.
Totally different.
It was totally different. Like, yeah, it wasn't like that. Like, that was a good call. If it was the Chiefs, man, they would have gone that flag all day.
Absolutely.
All day,
Absolutely,
bro.
if it was the Chiefs.
They would just push. The refs would have gotten in there and like handed the ball to Darren Waller and said, here's your touchdown.
Yeah, bro. Or if it was the other way and it was the Bills. The same thing. Those favorites.
Yeah, but that was a tough call. That was I agree with you. That was the right call. Saquon was getting stuffed. Again, it wasn't like the Marshawn Lynch mishap where they should, it wasn't like that.
No, beast mode would have made it through. That was an error.
Even
Tyrod
if you're
Taylor,
okay,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
he made the right call. Like he made the bad call at the first half to end by giving it to Saquon to get stuffed.
yeah, yeah, and you guys don't have a great offensive line to
That's
start with.
that's the biggest problem, especially on Sunday night. The pass defense, or excuse me, the pass guard for the O line was really bad. They weren't able to protect the run or the rush very well.
Right.
The rush was looked even worse than the pass defense. And talk about the O line, Justin Pugh, straight off the couch. He looked like one of our best linemen.
Yeah.
And they brought him in to play left guard because our offensive line is completely in shambles. And our left tackle, Josh Suzuta, goes down in the first quarter. Justin Pugh, who in his whole career has I think he's taken 5 snaps at left tackle, something crazy like that. He plays the whole game at left tackle. Dude was on the couch 2 weeks ago. How crazy is that?
That's crazy. That's a good story.
It's crazy, man. And so we have 4 guards playing in our offensive line. The right tackle, Evan Neal, a lot of people are saying, well, you could just consider him a guard too. He played a little better. Most of our guys looked a little better. The defense really stepped up. They were pounding it onto Josh Allen and their team. Made a lot of really good plays. I was happy with the defensive performance. Offense, it looked better with Tyrod Taylor. I like Daniel Jones, but it looked better. He was faster. He was making reads faster, and he got the ball out really quick. Which with an offensive line that's struggling, you have to get the ball out quick, and Daniel Jones doesn't do that. That's why he's going to end up in a casket before the season's over if he doesn't change something soon.
Agreed.
I'm really hoping that they give Tyrod Taylor a couple more games just to get us grooving, just to get us moving, get us in rhythm. Let Daniel Jones learn how to get the ball out quick behind this line, and let him recover from that neck injury. That's the big thing. I don't want him coming back and getting hurt even more than he is right now. So Tyrod Taylor, he's a fine, serviceable backup. We'll talk about a little more on Saturday, but going into their next matchup, the next couple of games they have, whether you have Tyrod Taylor or Daniel Jones in it, doesn't make much of a difference if the teams can win or not. You just need somebody in there that can be serviceable, and Tyrod Taylor is that plus a little bit more, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So not all negativity from me. They should have won that game, not just as a Giants fan, but looking at the calls, looking at the way the game was going, the miracle that happened at the end. It was like destiny for them to win that game, and it didn't happen.
Tough call.
It was tough, man. That was a tough one. That would have been one of the biggest stories of the season.
Dude, that
fourth quarter.
That'd have been crazy. That would have been like, damn, are the Bills dead? Are the Bills done?
Yeah, and people are still saying that the Bills look a little bit washed up. They don't look like a top 5 team. I mean, almost losing to the 1-5 Giants. Yeah, I mean, Bills didn't look great, man. They got held scoreless in the first half. I think the first 3 quarters, because they didn't get that first touchdown till the start of the fourth.
Well, what's crazy with them is that they're so inconsistent. So obviously they did horrible this week, but next week, I mean, Josh Allen's going to end up throwing for 400 yards. Stephon Diggs is going to get 150 yards.
They beat the Dolphins.
Inconsistent.
They have crazy games where they'll put up a ton of points. The defense will hold the powerhouse Miami Dolphins and beat them. So it's inconsistent that's the key word there.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see how their team goes for the rest of the season. I think it's gonna be a weird season for them. I'm not sure how their schedule looks, but
AFC's crazy this year, man. There's a lot open, a lot for the taking. There's no clear winner there. Even with the Chiefs there, there's no clear winner.
I agree. Yeah, and the Bills have a tough schedule coming up. They got to play the Bengals, Jets, Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Chargers, Dolphins again. They have a tough schedule here. So if they don't turn it around and buckle down, they're going to be fighting for a wild card spot.
Yeah. That'd be funny.
That would be hilarious. The Bills in the wild card.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
anything could happen. We'll see. This season, there's still plenty of time for anything to happen.
Yeah.
Like I said, not all woes from me. That's about all I have. We're a really beat up team right now. Offensive line is brutalized. Our defense is getting murdered. We do have Saquon Barkley back nicely. Left tackle Andrew Thomas still out, and then Daniel Jones, of course, being down. But we'll see. Debo might pull it through for us.
We'll see.
I wouldn't say I'm optimistic for this season, but I'm not throwing it away just yet.
All right. I'm glad to see the change. It's definitely a little disheartening to see you so down and sad. So hopefully things are going to go up for you guys.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate you. Let's talk about something we could both be sad about. The Cowboys won on Monday Night Football. Come on.
Dude, the Chargers are so bad.
They're the chokers.
So bad.
They are the chokers. That they should just change the name. Like the Redskins went from the Redskins to the Commanders. The Chargers need to be the Los Angeles Chokers.
They're just talking about inconsistency, man. They have so much talent. Their defense isn't playing too bad, but man,
on Monday they didn't play terrible, and the offense, it's a powerhouse offense too, just like the Dolphins. Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen,
he killed it though.
Justin Herbert's great. Like, yeah, that's the problem. All those dudes performed well.
Mm-hmm.
They just couldn't execute. They couldn't make it happen. They choked when it mattered most.
Yeah, Cowboys defense definitely stepped up. I mean, they were putting a lot of pressure on Herbert, forcing a lot of mistakes. Keenan Allen had a great game. Austin Eckler was kind of stuffed. He's coming back from an injury, and they were, off a bye week. So maybe they're trying to get the rust off. But man, this Chargers, bro.
They charged it up, dude. They really did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah, the receivers, they all did what they were supposed to. Keenan Allen, your boy, 7 receptions, 85 yards, 12 yards a carry, touchdown.
Yeah,
great.
Touchdown.
Joshua Palmer, 4 receptions, 60 yards. Also great. My boy from the XFL, Donald Parham Jr., from the 2020 XFL. That's a big boy right there. 2 receptions for 19 yards. As their tight end. They did good. Austin Eckler, 14 carries, 27 yards. That was not good. That was bad. 1.9 yards per carry.
Yeah, they were defensive line for the Cowboys were definitely stopping the run. They did a great job. I mean, they knew the ball was going to go to Eckler a couple times, so there was that. Yep. But they got to do better. Hopefully, they get things turned around. They're again a great powerhouse. They have great players. They're on paper they look great. Khalil Mack on defense, Joey Bosa on defense as well. They have some stars, man. So it should
be a good team.
Yeah.
And
did you see that super fan? Did you see that super fan?
The fake plant?
Yeah, you think she's a fake?
Of course she is. And people have pictures of her in Viking stuff, and and then she went on like some sort of interview, and she's like, "I'm not an AI. I'm a real person." It's like, we're not saying you're an AI. We're saying you're paid to be a fan of the Chargers. Who likes the Chargers? Nobody.
Yeah, she was on the Pat McAfee show, and it seemed like she was honest. But yeah, that thing came out about the Vikings as well. I don't know. It was funny though.
It was hilarious. This is my question for you. Why would you get 2 teams that both have the colors blue and yellow? Why would you put them both in the same city in the same stadium? Can you answer that for me?
So save on money.
But what's the point? Why be a Chargers fan over a Rams fan, or a Rams fan over a Chargers fan? It's like it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
they have the same little swoosh symbol too.
Yeah. So I grew up in LA. As you can see, my Lakers. It wasn't a football town, or I mean, at least where I grew up, like there was no Rams fans. There was no Chargers fans. Like that didn't exist. You were either a Raiders fan, a 49ers fan, Eagles fan like me. There was a couple sprinkled around, but for the most part, like everyone I grew up around, like you were either a Raiders fan or 49ers fan. There was no Rams fans or Chargers fans. I mean, I grew up in LA, like I said. Chargers are down in San Diego, so it's crazy to see their home games because they're not home games for the most part. Like the opposing team, like if you play against the 49ers, you play against the Cowboys, like there's so many Cowboys fans there. Oh, there we go.
Yep.
That's the other. I mean, they're freaking everywhere. They're like the plague, the Cowboys
Yeah. Oh
fans,
my God. They're like roaches.
dude. But but yeah, no, like there's a lot of bandwagon fans, I'm sure. I've seen a couple friends on Instagram are like, "Oh, we're Rams fans now." I'm like, yeah, dude, you
Right.
guys
Right.
just want. Which I mean, okay, fine. They're in your city. Okay, you can
Yeah. They won the
represent.
Super Bowl 2 years ago, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so
That all makes sense.
I get that,
That's
but
the problem with the transplant teams, just like
mhm,
the Arizona Cardinals transplant team. So just like you said the Chargers or whatever LA team, whatever LA football team, it's always the opposing team that's kind of like they have their own home game. For the Cardinals too, it's a transplant team. Any other team that comes here to Arizona, typically the fans are going to outnumber Arizona fans for the most part. The Rams, they moved recently out there to LA, right? Like
yeah, both of them did. I think
our
they came
era
within the last 4 years. So yeah, they were in St. Louis before. I think within the last, it had to be like maybe I say
in the
maybe longer.
2000s, right?
Yeah, let's
The
look it up
the
and see.
Rams,
Louis,
because I remember growing up, St. Louis Rams is what they were called. Obviously, prior to
2015.
that, St. Louis Cardinals. What's that?
They last played. So they last played in St. Louis in 2015.
Yeah, so pretty recent. So I mean, it makes
Yeah,
sense that they don't have a lot of fans there. Chargers
yeah.
as well, and then they moved the Raiders out of Oakland to Vegas. Oh, I never understood that moving of the teams. At least with the Giants versus Jets, they're different colors. For God's sakes, doesn't make a lick of sense to me. Maybe a Chargers or a Rams fan can explain what the differences are. I'm
Yeah,
sure. I'm sure they hate each other, though. You could say that. I
probably,
bet those fans
probably.
probably hate each other's guts.
I'm sure. I'm sure there's a lot of fights there. I mean, there's always fights at LA games, but
Always, always. Cool,
cool.
man. Were there any other games from Week 6 that you wanted to talk about?
Nothing on my slate.
Okay, cool. No, I didn't have anything either.
So that brings our Thursday night football game.
Yes. So Thursday night football, we have the Jaguars versus the Saints. Jaguars 4-2 at New Orleans Saints, who are 3-3 currently. Saints looking better than last year, to be honest. Jaguars, they can be on track to be a really good team. Had a couple of hiccups, and looks like Trevor Lawrence got injured last week's game. He is still listed as questionable right now, which you and I have been talking about, kind of throwing a wrench into our mix of our predictions for tomorrow night. Have you heard anything recent about Trevor Lawrence's injury? What exactly happened?
So it was a knee injury. From last report I saw, this was coming from the coach. They said that he looks great, that he's expected to play. I mean, you expect that from a coach to say that. He hasn't missed a game since his entire career, so he's yet to miss a game. I feel like he might play, but like you said, a lot of our bets today, a lot of our picks, like it's contingent on him whether he plays or not. Kind of like last time with Travis Kelce, we weren't sure if he was going to play. That definitely played a factor into that, and just completely threw our picks out the window.
Yeah,
But
because it's like,
yeah,
if he's not there, he's a passer, right? He passes a lot. If he's not there, are they going to start relying more on the run game with ETN?
Yeah.
Maybe, but the Saints defense against the run is very good. They don't really allow more than 100 yards in a game against defense. I think they're top 10 right now in the NFL, if my memory serves me right, as far as the rush defense. So that's a big question mark as far as what the performances are going to be. Is Christian Kirk, is Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram, are these guys going to get the yards they normally do if Trevor Lawrence isn't in?
Right.
So that's the question there, man. Derek Carr, I just checked on him. Looks like they've taken him off as questionable. Yeah, he's good to go. They are, though, suffering in the running back situation with Jamal Williams. He's on injured reserve right now. The other one, Olave, I think he's back.
I think that's what I last saw as well. Yeah.
Check here. Yep. Olave should be back. So, they do have some big playmakers there still. Alvin Kamara, the running back, he should be good to go. Will the Saints outperform the Jaguars if Trevor Lawrence is not starting? What's your opinion?
If Trevor Lawrence is not starting, I feel like they will. I mean, they have been hot back and forth. I mean, they lost to the Texans where they were the favorites to win that, and they are playing at home this game. A little information. So the last 5 games the Jaguars have played against the Saints, they are 1-4. So for the most part, the Saints they have the Jaguars number. I mean, granted, this is a brand new Jaguars team. They look fantastic. Like you said, they have a lot of offensive and even defensively. Like they unfortunately have allowed the second most passing yards, but they've been able to stuff the run, and they have the second fewest rushing yards allowed. And I mean, you said Williams is out, and they have Alvin Kamara, but I mean, the Jaguars defense has been no joke either. So it's definitely going to be a close game. If Trevor Lawrence is not playing, then I feel like they have no chance. If he is playing, I would venture to lean towards towards the Jags. The Jags are the underdogs in this game. The spread is pretty close, though. I think it's only, and it depends on. I've seen it go back and forth as -3, -5. I think right now it's -1, -1.5. I think it just depends on Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. So it's expected to be a close game. It's expected to be a close game.
Yeah, absolutely. Rightfully so. Like you had touched on, they allow a ton of passing yards, 270 per game on average. But the Jaguars' run defense, that's also good compared to the Saints. They only allow 75 average per game. So I would probably stay away from the rush game here. If Trevor Lawrence does start, and Derek Carr obviously is in, it's going to be more of a passing game between the two. There's not going to be a whole lot of rushing. Could be wrong. Alvin Kamara could go off. He could break free and have a big run or two. But I'd probably avoid those, to be honest.
That's funny because I think this is some of my picks or along those lines. So
yeah,
we'll talk about that.
That is
but
interesting.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is too, like the Saints have had a great offensive game. They've been getting it going, but I mean they've been one of the worst teams in the red zone. Man, they have not been able to finish.
Yep.
There's another team that's been suffering in the red zone as well. So I think it's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a good game.
You think so? I hope so, man.
If Trevor plays, it's gonna be if Trevor plays, it's gonna be a really good game. If not, then it might be a blowout. But
dude, I don't know. I'm concerned. I'm concerned we might see a Thursday night football game like we were watching all of last season. Just really bad games. We'll see, dude. So answer me this. Their backup quarterback, the one that we saw in preseason, that dude looked amazing. Granted, it was preseason, of course. He's playing against backups, but he looked awesome. Are we confident that he can carry the mantle if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play, or are they going to start a different QB? Do you know which quarterback they're going to start if Lawrence is not in?
I was looking at that before. I could not find an answer. I'm not 100% sure. We can do a quick search.
You know what? So it looks like when Trevor Lawrence went out, they had CJ Beathard step up and come in as backup quarterback. Nathan Rourke, he was the preseason quarterback that we were seeing a lot of. He would be the backup to that if they go into the game without Trevor Lawrence. So we may not see too much of him.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. It's tough to be a backup quarterback when in this league. I mean, there's been some that have been able to step it up, but as we talked about before, there's a huge difference in caliber of quarterbacks, and you can't hide behind that position. If you make mistakes, it's going to be blatant. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And the NFL is not a league where you can run like a dual threat quarterback like you can in college ball or one of the spring leagues. Like you have a quarterback, that's it. Then he has a backup if God forbid something happens to him, a quarterback that can step in for a game or two. But yeah, man, not a lot of room to hide behind bad performance like in a defense where it's like, hey, the guy was a good runner. What do you want me to do? Like, no, man.
Right.
If you're not playing plays as quarterback, you are taking all the blame.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on this game before we get into our predictions?
No, man, that's about it. I think I talked about the most points that I had were that, Jaguars, I mean, they're hopefully to get a win. Again, they're 1-4 against the Saints since 2003. Their last win was in 2003. So I'm sure they want to keep the momentum going coming back
when they were
London.
Formed as a team back in 2003.
Right. I mean, even the Saints weren't that great back then, but I mean, I'm sure they want to keep the momentum going. They've had some really great wins, in London. Obviously, it was in London, but I mean, they've had some great wins. They came back and they beat the Texans. So we'll see, man.
We'll see. I guess with that, we can get into our predictions for tomorrow night. So if you want to start us off, feel free.
These are my 5 picks for the Thursday night football game, Jaguars versus the Saints. So this one's a little depending on Trevor Lawrence, if he plays or not. I'm going to go with the Jaguars money line. They are the underdog, so we're getting some plus money on that. I'm confident that the Jaguars will take it if Trevor Lawrence comes in place. Next, we have Travis Etienne, anytime touchdown. He's been an absolute beast. He's gotten 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games, so I definitely expect him to score, especially if Trevor Lawrence is out. They're going to look to the run game a lot more. Next, I have Derek Carr under 1.5 touchdowns. Saints have been one of the worst offenses in the red zone. They have not been very efficient. They are playing a very good Jaguars defense. Jaguars have been able to stuff the run, and Chris Olave has been kind of underperforming. So I'm going to take him under 1.5 throwing touchdowns. Next, I have Alvin Kamara rushing under 50.5 yards. Again, Jaguars have the second best run defense. I do not expect Alvin Kamara to have a very good game. And then last, I have under 40 points. Now, the under has hit in all of the last 6 games for the Saints. So it's definitely going to be a low-scoring game. It is a short weekend, again, a Thursday game. Trevor Lawrence potentially being out. Derek Carr and the Saints having one of the worst red zone offenses. I expect it to be a very low-scoring game. And those are my 5 picks.
These are my 5 picks for Thursday night football. The Jaguars taking on the Saints. So a lot of this depends on if Trevor Lawrence is going to start or not. I'm going into this assuming that he will. Now, with that said, I'm taking the Jags money line. I like them over the Saints here, especially if Trevor Lawrence is playing. Aside from that, I'm keeping this game in the air. I'm going to keep this really simple here. Rushing defense for both these teams is very good, so I'm keeping this all passing. Olave, 40-plus receiving yards. Michael Thomas, 40-plus receiving yards. Calvin Ridley, 40-plus receiving yards. And Christian Kirk, 40-plus receiving yards. This is going to be balling out in the air. The Jaguars are taking it. Those are my 5 picks for Thursday Night Football.
All right. Well, so we had some different picks. I mean, we're both pretty sold on the Jaguars, right? And if Trevor Lawrence plays. So
yeah, absolutely. It's all going to come down to if he is going to start or not. If the injury is not too severe, like he doesn't need to run a lot. He just needs his arms to be good. So, God willing, he'll be starting for us. But I like both of our picks there. We're not thinking that the run game is going to go off here. So I'm liking it, man. I was also thinking about the under too.
Yeah,
that was one thing I was
had
a question mark about.
6 times. It's hit 6 times in all the Saints games, man. They just haven't been efficient. So and it's 40 points. That's a pretty big. I mean, it could be 43, 45, but with Trevor Lawrence potentially out, and then just the inefficiency from the Saints, I'm gonna venture to say the under.
There you go. I'm keeping a little safer this week. I want to get a hit here. So I'm thinking, both these quarterbacks passing a lot, both the pass defense is not good. I'm rocking with it, man.
Yeah.
Rocking with it.
Cool. Well, I think that's
about it, right? You don't have anything else? All right, man. Awesome. So that's everything we have for today. If you made it this far, please leave a like and follow for more football content. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next Spitball Sports Show.